Hey, man. Hey, Paul. Hey, man. Paul. Hey, man.
Hey.
It's Paul Heyman saving Raw. I'm Ollie Davis. This is Luke Owen. Welcome to the Raw Review edition of WrestleRamble. Please press the thumbs up button. Give us a subscribe. What other bits can you do? Leave a normal comment if you're watching the post-live version. And also, get your super chats in to Randy Andy Datson from WrestleTalk.com. We'll be manning those. We'll get to them in the break.
Who is wearing a lovely shirt, might I?
Do you like it?
I genuinely do. It's really nice, mate.
My mum got it for me for my birthday, which was on Sunday.
Yeah.
It's very pastel-y.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Andy.
I shouldn't have asked. Why are you mentioning that?
Hey, man.
That's really tickled you, hasn't it? That's tickled you pink.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was just getting into the topic at hand.
Yeah.
Hey, man, is what we're talking about.
So what you're saying now is because the Street Profits aren't on that show for filthy marks, you can actually be interested in them now.
Yes, yeah. I'm glad that because I wanted to check them out, but I thought, the NXT stench, don't want to really touch it. But now, main roster, great track record with NXT call-ups.
Where the good stars go.
This is going to be the three-dimensional, non-gimmicky execution of their characters, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Mm-hmm. The only problem is they've got those silly little tag team belts.
Little fake belts they've got there.
I'm being facetious. So, what's happened is Paul Heyman is now in control backstage. Not fully, but the idea is over the next few weeks, he's going to be leading the creative direction of Raw. Now, you'd think, so he's going to be an authority figure. No, because Paul Heyman has apparently explicitly said he thinks the authority figure role is played out a long time ago, which suggests to me that the McMahons were like, please be an authority figure.
Oh, yeah.
Just after they said no more authority figures. Not that they've stuck to that anyway.
No.
And although Meltzer and PW Insider have all reported this wasn't the full version of Heyman in control, there are undeniable fingerprints of his creative input on this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Taz, who worked with Heyman back in ECW, said that this feels like a Heyman show. WrestleTalk superfan Lance Storm also said that he felt that his fingerprints were all over the show as well.
He urged that idea, didn't he?
Shh, don't say the word.
Have we written an article on that thought?
No, not yet. I can do one afterwards though, if you like.
I urge you to write that.
So Mike Johnson of PW Insider is saying that the Heyman's not in charge yet. His ideas and his storylines are going to be implemented slowly over the next couple of weeks. And that's kind of in line, I suppose, with what Meltzer was saying, which is that it's not 100% his show yet, but his influence has grown from this episode to last week. And then Wade Keller of PW Torch is reporting that Heyman was sat next to Vince the entire show, and there was no sort of animosity or bad blood between them.
Yet.
That's the key to it. So the consistent thing I've noticed across all the reports about this, and this is what most people are saying. I think this is even what Sports Illustrated said at the time as well when they reported it, when they were given the information by WWE, that it probably won't be until after Extreme Rules that we feel the sort of full effect, because we're in a pay-per-view cycle at the moment, so you want to kind of finish up the pay-per-view cycle before you start anything new.
Well, it's weird you bring that up, because I felt like the main storyline really on Raw's end for that pay-per-view, which is Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch versus Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans, felt like someone took over the show and they're like, but there's this big thing that we need to, but I don't really want to do anything with it. Just have it ticking along in the background.
I mean, but that just sounds like Vince, though, doesn't it? Vince does start a storyline, and then it's like, oh, God, we've got this awful thing that I don't really want to do anymore, but I've got to do something with it.
Not when it's his faves. They're usually, Roman Reigns, you can't say he got bored of Roman Reigns. So we're going to kick off with how Raw opened, which was just an incredible opening.
Yeah, it really
this was. I can't think of anything better they could have done for this segment. So Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley came out to kick off the show. And at this point, it's Raw as usual. There's nothing
Well, you say this Raw as
about
usual, but we didn't have a 20-minute promo to kick the show off. So actually, this felt like a refreshing change of pace.
Yeah, and also this was just one fall to the match, and it was an actual match rather than some stupid feat of strength.
Yes.
So this was different.
Yeah.
So Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman have had this weird feud going on for ages that doesn't mean anything, based around arm wrestling contests and tugs of war.
Tugs of experience.
Tugs of Raiders. And here we have the Falls Count Anywhere
comment
match.
last week, it really made me laugh. That was a YouTube comment last week that really made me laugh.
Now we have a Falls Count Anywhere match. And they start, right away, brawling through the crowd. And I was like, okay, this is quite a fun, hot way to start Raw. I guess this is kind of their answer to what AEW did with Fyter Fest over the weekend. That was a very hardcore show.
Mm-hmm.
And then they brawl onto the stage. There's this suplex on Strowman, I believe. It was Lashley who delivered it.
Yeah.
And that's, that's a big spot, especially for a guy like for Strowman to take. And I thought, wow, that's pretty big. Little did I know, Strowman was about to tackle Bobby Lashley through the middle LED?
LCD.
Well, I said LCD in my script, and apparently that's wrong.
Oh, is it an LED board?
I think it might be. I don't care. It's an L something.
It doesn't really matter.
The technique, the techno stuff behind them. He spears them. He tackles Lashley through that. All of the set cuts out.
It explodes.
Yeah, so
the fireworks. It's where all the pyro's been hidden.
Yeah, I wouldn't change it, but it wasn't like if it went 3 explosions longer, that would have been stupid. Like a Police Academy or Austin Powers spoof level of an explosion, because it was going for ages. And then, so as soon as this happens, Corey Graves has obviously been given the okay. We want you to say this because this is a new edgier tone. So they go through, there's a bit of silence. Renee Young says something irrelevant. And Corey just goes, holy S word.
Yeah.
Like he was like waiting to say it. But it was, they went through, and rather than just, Strowman getting up and tipping over an ambulance, it genuinely felt chaotic and real because they just cut to this camera shot from backstage.
Oh, that's interesting, because that was the bit that I didn't like about it, to be honest, because that made me feel like, well, why was a camera there? Because a camera has been placed there specifically to record this one bit. And I felt it would have been more chaotic if it was more handheld.
Well, no, I think there's justification to this, because if you're broadcasting this live, you're just like, just cut to whatever camera. And you'll probably on the production truck have a camera in that position backstage.
On the swing.
So you can tell when, well, that wasn't the swing camera. It would probably just be a camera to say, yep, Finn Balor is standing there in Gorilla. Let's hit the music and we can see him go out. So that to me felt like, and it was positioned high up, almost like a security camera.
Yeah. And
I did write my thesis on this. Security camera aesthetics naturally lend themselves towards more realistic feels, because it's just like how the Blair Witch shaky cam footage, that weirdly the complete opposite of a static camera, also feels more real because you have less stylistic elements to it. And it went on for ages. There was no commentary team. They held for about 3 minutes on this shot, just of the carnage.
Yeah. And it did feel like they went on for ages, because actually, when they went through, the crowd exploded. The crowd exploded as loudly as the pyro did. They absolutely popped massive for it. Holy S-word chants, this is awesome. But the other thing I would say about this, I didn't like the camera. The crowd did get bored of it quite quickly, because then they just started doing 10 chants and counting to 10. And then I was like, oh, no, the crowd really... They popped for it big, but they'd wait for something else now.
I don't think that's too bad. That was annoying and did undermine it a bit.
But then they almost got back into the reaction they were supposed to have had. So they had their little moment where they were like, ready for the next thing now. And then when they weren't given the next thing, they were like, actually, no, maybe this is a bit more serious, and we're back to a more subdued reaction again.
Well, I blame WWE even for that, because that's their fault for conditioning the crowd for years and years and years that nothing means anything. Mm-hmm. If they were invested in these guys, they wouldn't, after a bit, start counting to 10. Yeah. You're right. But I just thought the whole execution, production of this, when they come back after break, they wheel Braun and Lashley to ambulances. They even said hospital.
I missed this. I only
twice.
heard local medical facility.
It wasn't here, I don't think. It was later on because they replayed the Heckings.
They really built this up.
This.
All of a sudden, this has felt like the biggest storyline in WWE. This feud that, as you say, was like it was done for Super Showdown and then was forgotten about for 2 weeks and then came back for arm wrestling and tugs of war. And now all of a sudden it's just like, we've really got to take this seriously because these are two big behemoths and they're now the most important commodity within this brand.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a coincidence that when Heyman has, 40, 50, 60% influence backstage now, he's not fully in that role. But the very first segment, we see an iconic part of WWE, that Raw set that has been in place for almost a decade and is stagnant and I'm bored of it and it's always the same. Two big guys do a big spot move through it. Effectively, it's just like, this is the ECW Championship. Like Eastern Championship Wrestling with Shane Douglas just before the Extreme version launched. Paul Heyman booked that for him to...
The NWA title, yeah.
Yeah, to chuck it in the bin and stamp on it. And then he relaunched a new thing off the back of that. So this is very Heyman. The report suggests that we'll be getting a new set next week.
From the very reliable WrestleVoter saying that we are getting a new set. He didn't say... Sorry, I hear we don't know who it is. They didn't say that it's next week, but they were like, they were working on a brand new set for Raw. This might actually be a way to kind of like fast forward these plans.
I think that's genius. Yeah, I loved it.
As we were saying when we did our Ramble Club podcast, because that's the only time we've really had a chance to sit down and talk about the Heyman Bischoff situation on camera, or at least in an audio format, where we were talking about like my dream for this. My optimistic dream is that both shows are just feel different. They're presented differently. So that Raw feels like a completely different show. Different sets, different the way the cameras are set up. And I think with Heyman and Bischoff, you could, in theory, get that because the two of them have got such wildly different ways of doing wrestling that they should feel like incredibly different products.
Yeah. This whole show had its problems, but I would say, not all of it, it's a 3-hour show, but the vast majority of it was entertaining.
I loved the first hour. Absolutely loved the first hour.
And this opening was excellent.
Yeah.
There's almost an argument that if you did this at the end of the show, there's something about that main event slot, it could have been a sort of Nexus level angle.
I want to go that far. Come on now.
But if you have that as your big cliffhanger, the set's been destroyed, and it feels like the start of something new. Just
if you were to do it like at the end of a show, I would think you'd have to do more of the set destruction than just like one of the panels. You're right. You'd have to the Titantron would have to fall or something.
Maybe with the Undisputed Era coming out and ripping off bits. Fantasy booking. So yeah, hey man.
Hey,
it's time to do some super chats. We'll do the rest of Raw.
It is time to do some super chats, and as we often do, we're starting with Tim Arndt from Australia, who says, when Maria said that she'll ask Becky to impregnate her, my immediate thought was of Dolph screaming, "It should have been me!"
We'll get on to this angle. Yeah.
I'm sure they're glad they re-signed.
Oh, yeah. 5 years is pretty quick, isn't it? But plenty of time to rebuild everything.
Yeah.
Start a stable with Jinder Mahal, who's just re-signed too. Jobber JJ, who's Ollie Davis' #1 fan, says, after yesterday's news, I have a few questions. Do you really think Khan knows what he's getting involved in? Does he know what the wrestlers want?
So this is in relation to him saying that the TV will be not hardcore like that.
Is that the news? Because there was a couple of things that Khan said yesterday. Like they might be talking about the intergender wrestling comments that he made. But a few people tried to clarify this in the comments yesterday on the Fight Fest review, which we did say in the episodes when we were doing the review, is that TV won't feel as hardcore as this, but pay-per-views might still do, and probably will still do. So, yeah, I don't think that the two are very different.
Plus, I think Khan in that interview was definitely working. Yeah. Like, he's pretending that he hasn't signed off on every single thing. Like, they just went out there and did that. I think it's quite good work.
Yeah.
Japanese name says, Bret Hart once said he didn't like the WCW ring. In terms of sound and appearance, what company has the best ring and why? AEW, ECW, NXT, New Japan, WWE?
Ooh,
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously WWE I'm so comfortable with because that's the most recognisable, and it's weird seeing smaller rings because most of them are in the UK. But I love New Japan's ring just because it's got the different branding. It feels like it's a sports, more of a sports-based product. But I know it sucked to perform in. Got to give some love to the six-sided ring.
Six-sided ring and Impact. Billy Gunn may have hated it, but I kind of liked it. I think it was Jericho who said that when he went from the WCW ring to the WWE, it was like, it's like wrestling on clouds. Because the ring used to be hard as a rock. It used to be like a slab of rock was basically what they were taking back bumps on until Vince McMahon started wrestling. He was like, a bit hard this. We need to soften this up, I think.
Jobber JJ is back in to say Khan wants a sports-based product. What do the 4 executives want? Is Khan being worked?
Oh, right. He's clarified his original point. I see. I mean, Khan's not being worked at all. But I think it's interesting. We said this in the Fighter Fest review as well, that Khan has said that he, and it was like this sports-centric product, but actually these 2 shows have not felt very sports-centric.
No. When he says sports-centric, I maybe he just means wins and losses matter. Because they certainly do. They feel very important in AEW.
I was going to say all the people that won on Fighter Fest are all the people that have got big matches at Fight for the Fallen.
Yeah. Vernon Jeffrey says Average, but Paul is making the show better.
Yeah, I liked Raw to a degree. I thought the first hour was very good. But I felt like it dipped off as sort of like the midpoint.
There was no Firefly fun. No one's tweeted me about people in the background.
There was someone in the background.
Was there?
Bird Raptor was behind the Miz.
Okay.
So you'll get a lot of comments on that on your video
great.
today because you didn't mention it. But I thought it was better than last week's show.
Oh, much better.
Yeah. So there you go. There's your praise.
Japanese name back in with, speaking of pregnancy announcements from out of nowhere, what is the most exotic food you've had and what did it taste like?
That is a mean Charlie Caruso level segue. The most exotic food I've ever had.
I don't even know.
Yeah. It's a weird one off the top of my head.
Mango.
What? I've had kangaroo and crocodile.
Oh, yeah, I've had like a crocodile burger. Just tasted like a normal burger, really.
Cool. Jonathan Hedman, one of our pledge hammers, says, I won't get to stay for the full show as I'm going to be far from home. But I really enjoyed
Spider-Man.
most of Raw, except for the closing angle getting the Kevin Dunn zooms. Have a great show.
Yeah, the Kevin Dunn zooms are... I mean, maybe that's something that will go with Heyman. Like, with Heyman taking over, he'll be like, God, I've got to get rid of those zooms. But maybe that's just like a Vince thing that will never leave.
Yeah, it's
Gotta zoom
annoying.
in, pal.
Everett Lewis says, it may have been a good show on TV, but it was dreadful live. No wrestling and bad promos during breaks and too many backstage segments really hurt the live momentum. The wife and I were bored to tears.
Oh, I've read the opposite. I've read the only live reports I've read. They all very much enjoyed it. One guy in particular on Reddit said he's been to loads of Raws and they've been so disappointing over the last couple of years because it was in Dallas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he said this one was the most fun by a long, long way. So
Interesting.
We'll do 3 more for now. Crazy Lewis says, hi Andy dear, have you read the email I sent you? I have, Lewis, and I will be getting back to you. He wants to write for the site, so that'd be very exciting. Anthony Eng says, how would you feel if WWE added a new type of match that had rounds similar to what MMA have to work around not wrestling during commercials?
I mean, we say like MMA, but really what we're all thinking is the Impact Grand Championship. That's what we're all striving towards, is the for rounds.
I was thinking about this, but then they'd all mostly be the same. Like, well, I guess, you'd have one person win both rounds. So 2 rounds, rather, out of 3 for a quick finish.
Well, then we may as well just have nothing but 2 out of 3 falls matches.
Yeah, maybe that's the way. And then if this is going to be a thing, best of 3 round matches, and there's also the pay-per-view is where you get to see a full match.
Well, Pete was joking about this on SmackDown last week in the SmackDown review. He said that we're getting to a point now where WWE are going to be promoting singles matches as big attractions, being like, one fall to a finish. This is it now.
We'd chant for it's already over for one fall. One fall, finally!
I know we were sort of banging the drum that the wrestling in ad breaks was killing a lot of the momentum of Raw and SmackDown, but this is way worse.
We'll get on to that.
But if you're doing rounds, who decides who wins? The
Judges.
rounds? Who's the judge?
We'll have a panel of legends.
Okay.
They've got enough of them under contract.
Chuck Norris, like in Dodgeball. And the last one is R.J. Calmarin, who says, will Roman turn heel in this Heyman-Bischoff era?
Where's he been? Was he on last week's SmackDown?
Of course he wasn't. Doesn't show up for SmackDown. Brandy's got a good stat
The
about this.
stats were he's been on, prior to this week's Raw, he'd been on 7 of the last episodes of Raw. 7 of the last 8 episodes of Raw and only 4 of the last 8 of SmackDown, despite being a SmackDown star.
Yeah, he doesn't
Wild
show up for
card.
SmackDown.
No.
That's a show for jokes and losers. Todd Phillips has to open the show being like, I'm so sorry, guys, but there won't be many Raw stars on tonight's show. You're going to have to make do with these jabronis instead.
This is my yard now. Just half the time. It's my it's more of my beach house where I'm going to come when I've got some time off.
It's his allotment.
Yeah.
He's supposed to go there to think.
It's a hobby.
Yeah.
Right, so the actual episode of Raw itself. I've written right at the start, before it even began the episode, my brain feels so weird going from AEW to WWE. Because I was like, I love wrestling. I'd be like 100% love wrestling again. And then I was sat down to, okay, well, let's get through 3 hours of Raw. And then they kicked off right away with this excellent opening segment, but not before a little rundown of what's coming up later on the show. We've got this match, we've got that match. And then they didn't even verbally say it, but there was like a 2-second shot of the Street Profits.
I must have missed this. Because when they came in for the interview, I was like, me and Charlie was backstage with the Street Profits.
It was weird. It seemed like they were just shown by mistake. But they were posing like characters. It's not like they were just seen backstage.
Control chaos. It's all by design.
Yeah. Well, then we got the opening, very genuinely chaotic segment. And then after that, the second match was the Viking Raiders versus the New Day.
Yes, to set up a 6-man.
Which
is the standard way of doing these matches now, is you have a match to set up another match.
They started for like 3 minutes, and then Samoa Joe jumped Xavier Woods. That shot of Samoa Joe jumping Xavier Woods outside also looked like a production change. The background was out of focus, and usually WWE use a very deep depth of field, meaning everything's in focus. So it makes it look more cinematic. So, and that's also what AEW have been doing a lot with those Moxley videos when he walks down the. But we'll see. But yeah, this Samoa Joe attacks Xavier Woods. Match is restarted as a 6-man with Kofi out there too.
Yeah, Kofi ran down to make the save because they're building up the fact that we're getting Kofi versus Joe at Extreme Rules, which Corey said could be a ladder match.
Why?
He just said, my backstage sources are telling me that it could be a ladder match. And Renee and Cole were just saying, like, why? And who told you this? He's like, I'm not going to reveal my sources. But those are the words I'm hearing on the grapevine.
I wish that was more of Corey's character.
It was for a bit.
Yeah, with the whole Jason Jordan reveal.
Thing. Exactly, yeah. It was like, I'm looking at my phone, I've got to go.
And who was attacking Enzo Amore?
I forgot.
And it was Big Cass.
Oh, yeah.
But he was also getting
right.
things.
It was him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
God. Yeah, no, but so we could be getting a Kofi Joe ladder match at Extreme Rules. And the end of this match was Joe choking out Kofi. And for me, that would be a really big deal had Dolph not pinned him on Tuesday SmackDown.
Yeah. Another victim of the 2 out of 3 falls nonsense.
Because this would have been his first in-ring defeat since WrestleMania.
March the 19th.
There you go, March 19th. So that really would have been like, oh my God, Kofi's like not been pinned or submitted for months. And then there comes this ruthless guy who just choked him out in the middle of the ring. Now what's he going to do at Extreme Rules? But only I'm sitting there going like, yeah, but that joke beat him last week. So it was all about him.
Yeah, it should have been me. It should have been Joe. But because it would be much nicer to just say this was Kofi's first loss. But now you've got to almost qualify it in quite a contrived way. Oh, it's Kofi's first full loss for a whole match.
In a 1-fall match.
Yeah, in a pinning opportunity.
Oh, yes.
That results in the overall loss rather than just going on to the final
he
stage.
had a W in the column from SmackDown, but now he's got an L because he actually lost this one.
Yeah. But I thought, Samoa Joe has been terribly booked for ages.
Probably since the Brock Lesnar feud.
Yeah. But
and you like the Wendy stuff.
Well, every so often I did. And then they'll book the feud in reverse.
I was going to say, I like the one match they had at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
It had a really inventive finish.
That played into nothing.
Into nothing.
But he's been even more terribly booked this year, especially with the US title nonsense. But Samoa Joe is so good and he's so intense that him choking out Xavier and him choking out Kofi here and just their interactions in the match anyway, I feel like this is a big-time feud. It's just when just like Great Balls of Fire, they dropped Joe in this situation with Brock and it took off.
It worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is what's happened with Joe, I think. It was a really nice finish as well, where everyone's doing dives to the outside. Kofi's about to set up his dive. He's the last one of the baby faces. And Joe's just like, nope. Coquina clutch, chokes him out. And I love these sorts of beating of the champion because it's not in a singles match. So you can almost say, well, yeah, Kofi lost in this six-man because everything that was so much chaos around him. Doesn't really work as well for Kofi because he's got a lot of experience in six-man matches with the New Day, and really they should overcome them anyway. But yeah, I thought this was really good and a really effective way to make me believe Joe as a contender.
Yes.
Unlike
agree.
what they did with Ziggler,
Which was nothing.
where I never bought into it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I thought this was really, really good. I was a big fan of this. I'm a big fan of Samoa Joe, and I think in this Heyman era of Raw, guys like Joe, Cesaro, we're going to see more of them because those are the kind of guys that Heyman likes because he likes people that feel like legit athletes. Bobby Lashley, he's someone who's going to get a major push out of this Heyman era because he really is a Paul Heyman kind of guy.
Yeah, Joe is pretty much Taz, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Then we got the comedy stuff, I guess, which is not so much in Heyman's forte.
But I liked this comedy
Yeah,
stuff.
it was
I thought
good.
the comedy stuff this week was among the best they've done. I really enjoyed all the Drake Maverick stuff this week because he's married Jasmine from Aladdin, it seems, and they were walking backstage, and she was blindfolded and she had these big headphones on, and he's like, I've brought you to our honeymoon. And then she takes it off and she's like, I can't believe you brought me backstage to Raw for our honeymoon. And he's like, no, it's to meet Dana Brooke. And Dana Brooke walks up. She's like, hey, I was like, no, I've got to take you past her now. And it was all because Drake wants to win the 24/7 title, but she gave him the ultimatum. It's me or it's the title.
And he chose her.
He chose her because Truth walked up.
Yeah.
And
It was really good comedy between them all, and Truth was behind Renee being Drake's real life wife, behind her back as they're hugging and just going, I'm a romantic me. And he's been doing the heart signal, and this played on throughout the night. And yeah, I think it's really successful because they're focusing more on Drake Maverick.
Yes.
I'd love to know how much creative input Maverick has over this.
I mean, he gave them his wedding.
Yeah.
To shoot an angle.
Yeah. Then we got one of the other night-long narrative threads beginning, which was AJ Styles putting over Ricochet backstage to the club after their terrific main event the previous week.
Which would have been better without the no-fall nonsense.
So that
Brad break nonsense.
and the club kind of keep that thing going about how good they used to be or how good they could be. Then we get No Way Jose congering down for a match against Cesaro. Drake Maverick and his wife Renee are in the front row. And R-Truth is part of this conga line. And he lays down on the barricade for Drake to pin him. But Drake can't do anything.
Can't do it. That was really good. And Cesaro is looking at all of this stupid nonsense happening around. He's like, I've had enough of this. I'm just going to completely wipe this dude out, give him a neutralize on the floor. I'm going to walk away. Like a badass.
He looked really badass.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing I would change here was just pin him as well. Just roll him in, pin him, and then F off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this was really good segment after really good segment.
That's what I mean. I thought this first hour was excellent. Really, really did.
Then we cut backstage, and there's Mean Charlie Caruso. Terrible segue. All the 24/7 titles always in demand. These new people are also in demand. It's the Street Profits.
Street Profits. So is this a Raw debut for them? Are they now on the main roster?
Yeah, looks like it.
Really? Ah, interesting.
Not on Wikipedia.
Well, oh yeah. Well, as we all know, that's really the fountain of all. And apparently it's not on WWE.com either. But
I thought they were being introduced as Raw's next additions. Or
I don't know, because they didn't say specifically we're now up on the main roster, did they? Also, maybe it's just like an internal thing. It'd be like, God, we've had enough NXT call-ups this year. We don't need more of
the
them.
tag team champions.
Also, yeah, the tag team champions. Like, let's stop bringing up our champ, shall we? But either way, I will say, I bloody love the Street Profits. I've gone on record many times as saying I think they're a fantastic tag team. I think Montez Ford is an absolute superstar who will be a future WWE champion. He's too good not to. Ryan Satin agreed with me, it turns out, because he said the exact same thing last night. So if Ryan Satin thinks I'm right, then maybe we should all get on the Luke Owen gravy train and be like, Montez Ford for WWE champion.
they're very charismatic. And they were so charismatic, I didn't get an impending sense of dread. You know, like usually when you see an NXT star come, well, especially in 2019, suddenly appear on Raw, Raw especially, you're like, oh my God, no. But with them, maybe it's because there was that flash shot of them right at the start when they were running down the intros, so my mind was already preparing myself. But yeah, this was really good. Why isn't it Buddy Murphy?
Because he's on SmackDown.
That hasn't stopped anyone else.
Well, maybe we're going to get a big Buddy Murphy push in the Bischoff era, because we all know that he's all about young stars.
He loves the cruiserweight as well, doesn't he?
He loves young and up-and-comers. That's what Eric Bischoff's all about. But yeah, I don't know if this is a call-up for the Street Profits. It didn't feel like a call-up for the Street Profits either. But I'm wondering if it also feels like this kind of like, you know how you said it when they were at the start of the show, it felt like an error. I almost feel like a lot of the stuff they're doing at the moment, particularly like the Bray Wyatt stuff, it's for social media. It's for people to be like, oh my God, I think the Street Profits are on Raw. So you get like the filthy marks that watch NXT, to directly quote you, to message their friends and be like, Street Profits are on Raw, you better tune in and watch. And try and get people more. So it's not actually a call-up. It's just you're featuring them on TV just to try and like bring in a hardcore audience.
Talking about the ideas of making stuff memes and traveling on social media, they even did that. They both did a cheesy thumbs up to the camera, a double thumbs up. That's a GIF right there.
Yeah.
Or a GIF. Tomato. After that, we got Not Renee Young interviewing The Miz backstage about his, you guessed it, 2 out of 3 Falls match with Elias.
Well, they were recapping his last 2 out of 3 Falls match with Elias that he lost.
And The Miz is like, oh yeah, but I've heard that The Undertaker might be here. Ooh.
Well, actually, I did like this promo in the sense that they were essentially asking him, like, why have you still got beef with Shane? Because, as we all thought, that feud had been dropped after Money in the Bank, where just Miz kept losing. And he was like, oh, I'm tired of fighting this idiot and losing all the time. But he actually made a very good point where he said, like, I created this best in the world monster. This is my fault. And I need to amend that. And that's a really good storyline reason outside of...
To fight Elias.
Fair point. Fair point, yeah. I did expect Shane to be out with Elias, but then I thought, not with the not on Raw.
Because this has been going on for about 3 weeks now. This Miz feuding with Shane when Shane doesn't really know he's feuding with him.
Yeah.
And I don't think it makes anyone look good.
So
I agree with that motivation. I think that's very good.
Are you saying that Miz is TNA Impact, where they thought they could go head-to-head with Monday Night Raw?
Yeah. Bischoff.
Bischoff
Just
again,
multiple successes in his career.
He's got all the successes.
Just such a stacked CV.
Running company after company after company into the ground. Celebrity wrestling. That was a Bischoff idea.
After that, we got, speaking of Shane McMahon, Shane and Drew coming down to the ring. Mike Rome gives the big best in the world.
Which I'm going to guess Vince didn't like.
Introduction.
Because the commentary just buried him for it.
Buried Mike.
Yeah, being like, oh, that was rubbish. We need to get Greg to do this all the time.
Greg is better.
Greg is better at it.
Yeah, I love Greg Hamilton. But then, yeah, Shane just joked about how scared Roman must be. And Roman's nowhere again. And then Drew replayed footage of beating Roman down. Then they're running down the Undertaker. Drew cuts just a classic, solid wrestling promo about, I respect you, the Undertaker, you're one of the best. So he's building up his opponent, and then he's like, but I'm better than you.
Yeah. Got to be building to Roman Drew at SummerSlam, right? No, sorry. God, can you imagine? Drew Undertaker at SummerSlam.
The trilogy.
Imagine.
The rubber match when he's already won them all.
It's what 2019's been building to. Another Roman... No, Drew versus Undertaker at SummerSlam.
Yeah, that's a great use of the Undertaker.
Drew winning as well.
Oh, yeah.
Drew could really do with it.
So they're calling out the Undertaker, and then the lights cut off, and it's the part of the Undertaker that always jumps the shark for me.
Lightning. Yeah, lightning strikes. The court lights get dim. Supreme competition is about to begin, and the Undertaker makes his very, very slow entrance to the ring. Which, again, I'd imagine if you're in the building or inspiring, but watching on TV, I'm like, let's get on with it, mate.
Yeah.
I know we've got 3 hours to fill.
Oh, but don't worry. He had a completely fresh promo to deliver. Yeah.
I am the master of wayward souls. You have souls. I would like them, thank you.
Michelle, if you can hear me, please move my Sunday night appointment with the lads.
And update my Instagram account.
Yes, please. So that's what happened. Shane and Drew did a good job of standing in the crowd, looking scared.
Yeah. I'd like that Taker said that because Shane's whole promo was like, Roman must be really scared. He's gone out to get the Undertaker, one of his fiercest rivals of all time. He's gone and got the Undertaker. And the Undertaker came out to say that Roman didn't call me. I'm just here to put you in your place because you have souls.
Yeah.
I need them.
Please, I got a problem. Oh, God.
Oh, God.
You know I'm good for it, Shane. Just give me one more soul.
Just one more soul. It's one more soul. That's all I ask.
After that, we got Baron Corbin. I said in my review, from one mid-card vortex to another. We got Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans backstage, and actually another production freshen up of just how it was filmed. Lacey was doing her makeup or something in a mirror, and Baron was really actually quite coolly laying back and talking directly down the lens.
Yeah.
No interviewer, just those two.
It was really nice presentation.
Yeah.
Terrible promos, but really nice presentation. Lacey in particular had a promo that was ba 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 Extreme Rules.
Yeah. I remember enjoying Baron's. I was like, that's cool, just because like of his smarmy demeanor. But now I'm trying to remember a single thing he said. I can't. So you are right. But it's essentially Becky and Seth are rubbish.
They're bad for each other is the key to it. They're not rubbish. They're just bad for each other because Seth is a weak link. Becky's a weak link. Together, they're the weakest link. Goodbye.
Corbin also say something about Becky catching Becky's eye backstage? Maybe I'm inventing this.
You might creating storylines in your head.
Yeah, someone's got to.
Undertaker is still leaving as well.
Yeah.
They cut backstage.
What's that all about?
So the Undertaker had his promo, and I was like, right, okay, well, I'm gonna quit near to the loo, and I'm gonna make myself a cup of tea and some breakfast. And when I made myself a cup of tea and breakfast, came back, and Undertaker was leaving. I was like, it felt like he'd been leaving for ages because I'd left the TV for ages. So I was like, how long's he been here?
I get that they're trying to make this all feel chaotic and haphazard, but I don't think that made Taker look good. I
cannot find the exit. Where do I go?
Yeah, it's like Spinal Tap.
Help.
Anyone got a soul? Can you help me out, man? It just made me ask too many questions.
Then we got Lacey Evans versus Natalya. I have 3 notes here. Becky and Seth are watching backstage. Baron trips Natty. Lacey wins.
I mean, that's all you really need to know.
Yep.
I've got a bit more analysis that...
Good job you're here.
Corbin and Lacey. Because when Lacey wrestles a match, there are actually a few spots here and there where I go, I like that. That's new. There's one where, I don't know what you call it, when she's sort of lying on the ground and she flips herself back straight into a pin.
Back in my backyard wrestling days, my friend used to call that his reverse rolling thunder.
Yeah. Yeah, so she did a reverse rolling thunder.
It was one of his signature moves.
And I'd be like, I like that. And she'll do something else and go, I like that. That's unique to you. That's exactly the same as I am with Corbin.
Yeah.
He'll do a move, and I'm like, oh, I like Deep Six. I like End of Days. I like the thing where you run around the turnbuckle. But that's it.
Yeah.
Like, everything else, for both of them, drags in the match. But they've got these cool bits. So it's weird how they both kind of fallen together. I guess it's because they were pushed when they were too green because of their look.
They were called up too early. Isn't that the report with Vince that he thinks the Baron's really handsome and all the women love him and that's why he's getting pushed? It was a report that came out last week, right? Yeah.
Amazing. Well, and he doesn't think Asian women are a thing.
No, but probably means I'd get a push in WWE. That's all I'm saying.
So yeah, Lacey beat Natalya despite some interference thanks to some interference from Corbin. This is the right move.
Yep.
Lacey needs those wins. I prefer them to be clean. I just wish they did this.
I like
in
it
the
set up there.
Yeah. But this is what they should have been doing in January, and they should have been giving Lacey these wins month after month, rather than just her walking out spots.
But that's where you're wrong, Ollie, because she did those walking out spots. Now she's fighting for the title for a third month in a row. So who's right in this situation?
I hold up my hands. Then we got Ricochet backstage. And Ricochet is just, having a nice little chat with Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Not if mean Charlie Caruso has anything to say about it.
Do you want to come on our action figure podcast? It'd be really nice to have you on there.
Charlie walks in. Sod off, you losers. I want to talk to a star.
Oh, God. Have you got tag belts? No, you haven't, you big losers. Get out of here.
Yeah, so they leave. Good job, they're gone, you big loser. So, loser Ricochet. What does it feel like losing last week to AJ Styles, you big loser?
I really, Charlie tells them to F off so she can interview Rick. It really did feel that way. But they, Gallows and Anderson... Rick said he would love another match with AJ, right? But this time he's not going to make mistakes. And then Gallows and Anderson walk up to him. There's quite a few of these segments, so I was trying to remember which bit this was. And they sort of joke around with him, and Rick says, look, I don't want any trouble, but I will defend this title wherever. For some reason in my notes, I've got it down that Anderson was meant to have a match with him. That's what I thought this was all building up to.
No, it was Gallows and Anderson sort of stirring the pot, even though Ricochet was being very respectful towards AJ. But he was also saying, but I am the champion and I'll fight him any time. Gallows and Anderson went back to AJ and were like, you know what he just said about you? He was running his mouth. And crucially, that's not what the old AJ would have done.
No.
Back in the day in Japan, when we were, better booked, you would actually stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
So AJ awesomely goes round, and I know I'm gonna say his character is based around being emotional and short-tempered, and he doesn't think things through. He's got a hot head.
To be honest, my bigger thing on this was that AJ, Gallows and Anderson are having this conversation, and AJ's like, I'm going to have a word with this Ricochet then. And I was like, I don't think you need to. He's literally he probably heard the conversation you were having.
Yeah, because it wasn't like another segment later on.
He just walks around
and just turns around and there's Ricochet. How long have you been there? I've been practically here the entire time you have. And he goes to find Ricochet. And this was really well done. AJ finds Ricochet, challenges him, and then because Gallows and Anderson previously said the AJ we used to know would go up to him, challenge him for the title, and then slap him in the face. AJ challenged him for the title. Ricochet was like, all right then. And AJ just goes... slaps him like a cat. Like when you look at a cat too much and eventually the cat's just going to go meow. It was like that. And Ricochet looked back at him and went meow.
Slapped him back.
So yeah, it was very well done.
Really good, yeah.
Then unfortunately we got Elias versus The Miz. Miz won the first fall immediately. Elias then won the second fall about a minute after that.
If it was even a minute.
Commercial break, back for the final fall, and you just just have one fall.
This is, as I said at the start of this show, this is the worst way to get around not having wrestling in ad breaks. It is actually probably, you would probably go through 100 other ideas before you got to this one. Because it's that rubbish. And even then, number 100, you're like, I think we've got another one yet. We've got another idea, surely.
I am enjoying some of them. I'm not going to say it's a blanket failure because I'm actually enjoying action, bell to bell. Maybe sometimes it's the second bell to the third bell.
Bell to bell to bell.
Bell to bell to bell. I'm enjoying the wrestling all happening in front of my TV eyes.
That is wonderful, and I agree with you.
But yes, I recognise that it is a problem, and it's jumped the shark by quite some margin now.
Alvarez had the point, he mentioned this on Twitter, that he's given this no wrestling in the ad break thing 3 weeks, and all it's done is ruin potentially great main events.
Well, yeah, I mean, this Elias versus The Miz was never going to be a barnstormer.
No, but you look at the AJ Ricochet thing. That's 2
Yeah.
weeks on the bounce now. They've had to come up with contrived reasons to turn 20-minute matches into
Okay, yeah,
7-minute matches.
So the AJ Ricochet one, I get that they could have an amazing match. I say this is the one storyline it works in. Both of those restarts have been done to further the AJ heel turn. Last week it was Gallows and Anderson coming out and sort of interfering. And AJ's like, no, we're going to restart this where you guys gone. This week plays directly into AJ getting annoyed because they, what happens later on is Ricochet gets his foot under the ropes, referee doesn't see it, AJ wins, the match restarts. That's part of the fuel that turns him heel. Now, and I want to see the proper Ricochet AJ match on a pay-per-view.
You could have done those without the restarts of the match.
You could, but if you cannot wrestle, if you've got this thing,
Got this
but you
crutch,
have to
yeah.
work around, I think this is the one storyline they've actually made it work in, kind of. Anyway, Miz won overall.
With a figure 4, of
Yeah.
all things.
It was quite a cool finish, though. Elias went, it wasn't just a standard finish. Some thought had gone into it with Elias running into the ring post with the knee. Miz moves. Miz works over that body part to win.
You say he works over that body part. Oh, yeah, he locked in the figure 4 on that body part and won, yeah.
Then comes the Kanellis.
Yeah, take us through this then.
I'll try. So, mean Charlie Caruso is backstage, and she's talking to Seth. Oh, I've written here, Seth wants to talk about how much money he earns. When you could really, really like someone, and then they do something, or you hear a story about them, and you're just like, I can't reconcile this now.
Yeah.
And I know it was probably in frustration and social media blows everything up anyway. But ever since Seth got back to Will Ospreay with, well, let's just look at my bank account. I look at him and I just think, you're a knob, mate.
Yeah, no, I'm in the
I
same
can't
boat,
get
yeah.
past it. I hope I do because I do admire him as a wrestler.
Yeah.
But it's not helping that him and Becky do not work as an on-screen couple.
The awkward comedy they had here.
They can be shagging their brains out backstage off the product for all I care. They have no romantic on-screen chemistry.
Yeah, no. The awkward comedy does not help.
They both look like they don't want to be doing this.
That's because I don't think either of them want to be doing this. Oh, but someone did get in touch with us today that said they do really like our channel, but our constant jabs at Becky Lynch are getting too much. So, more jabs at Becky Lynch.
I'm jabbing at Seth Rollins.
I know. I'm jabbing at the company here.
Yes, yeah.
Because it's the
most of
company
it
that sort of
jabbing
like forced them into this position. I don't think either of them want to be doing this. And this terrible comedy isn't working. Are they joking with each other? Because there was a point when Becky says, I advise you not to lose my belt. And Seth was like, well, I advise you not to lose my belt. And if you just do what I say. And then they go, yuck, yuck, yuck. And I'm like, was he being serious? Was it a joke? I don't know, because the delivery of it was so bad. I don't know what I'm supposed to think now.
You've also got a situation where your two top division champions, so the men's champion and the women's champion, are engaged in one feud and one match, and they're treating it like a joke. There's no dramatic tension here. They're both very much of the opinion of, this doesn't matter because we'll beat them anyway.
We've beaten them twice anyway, so a third's not going to hurt us.
So if they win, I don't care. If they lose, they're crap. Anyway, that wasn't even the worst part of this segment. So, and you know what? Like, this episode of Raw was overall fantastic compared to the drivel we've had this year. But this was stupid, this whole bit. So Seth and Becky are talking to Charlie, and then Maria Kanellis, of all people, walks in. And
She's still employed.
I was like, oh yeah, they re-signed last week, 5-year deals. Maria Kanellis comes in and says, something like, I gave birth to a baby.
Yeah, you may have beaten Ronda Rousey, but I pushed an 8-pound baby out of my uterus. It's a direct quote.
Which is, that's sort of one of the other edgier things that Heyman is probably responsible for.
What, talking about uteruses?
Well, it's just the WWE don't usually do promos like that. It felt like...
I'm not sure talking about a uterus is edgy.
It's not.
Would you call
local
one
medical
born every
facility.
minute edgy programming?
Yeah. And Maria just starts talking to Becky and Seth how they should have a match with her and Mike. She says, you and your bitch can take on me and my bitch.
And she said that you're the only reason you're Universal Champion is because Mike hasn't had a chance at you yet.
Yeah. And Mike's there. Look, I loved Mike Bennett. And what was his nickname? Not the Prodigy, but it was something like that. Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis in Ring of Honor was a great act. In Impact, they were a pretty good act, although it wasn't the serious level they were before. It was more of a comedy piece. But Mike Bennett, in my head, is still this pretty jacked guy. He looked tiny here. And it's probably good because, he's gone through a lot of health problems and he's come through the other side of those addictions. But he is very, very lean. He is 205 Live shape, which just jarred even more with this whole Seth and Becky thing. And so Mike Kanellis is getting buried.
Oh, this was a one-night burial of a man.
And they have the actual match, an intergender tag match with Rollins and Lynch. Mike Kanellis gets in there. He's beaten up by Seth pretty much all the time. Doesn't go long. Becky tags in, which is cool. Crowd pop. It's Becky against Maria. That'll be fun. Becky chases Maria. Maria grabs a mic. I'm pregnant. Don't hit me. So I don't know why I did a lady's voice there.
Spot on impersonation of Maria Kanellis.
Lady. Oh, Maria. Don't hit me. It's because that's my usual defence if I'm challenged in the street. Don't hit me, I'm pregnant. You've got a beard, mate. I'm pregnant, beard.
Have you seen Junior?
And Mike Kanellis is selling this like, oh my God, my wife's pregnant
This is
again.
Great news.
So I'm actually kind of there like, oh,
lovely.
That's nice.
We had The Miz and Maurice announce their pregnancy, and I was like, that was a lovely moment.
And then Maria, what does she say? She's like, psycho.
No, she said I'm pregnant, but then she says that she's surprised because Mike isn't man enough to get her pregnant. And that's when then Mike taps out to the disarmer.
Disarm person.
Okay, disarm person. And then Maria said, I cannot believe you're the father of my children. You're a disappointment. The only man here tonight is the man. And maybe next time I'll just ask Becky to impregnate me.
Lesbian turn. This is Paul Heyman 101.
It's the LGBTQ storyline they've been promising us for years. This was, an absolute burial of Mike Kanellis.
So all of the cuck and soy boy stuff that's thrown around on the internet, that's effectively what WWE's booking department did here to Mike Kanellis.
Remember when he debuted and JBL was like, he took her surname.
Oh, that's
my JBL impersonation, apparently.
Oh, really? Well, one good thing was we did get to hear The Power of Love.
On TV?
The greatest.
I thought they were going to get a jobber entrance and we're never going to hear the song. So I was actually thrilled to hear it.
So the backstage reality of this is Mike and Maria Kanellis reportedly asked for their release back in January. In that week after the initial AEW launch announcement, January 7th, I think, off the top of my head.
It came shortly after the Moxley one, didn't it?
No, it was way before. It was the same week as the Revival,
That's it,
Hideo
the
Itami, and the Kanellis side.
Yeah.
And then, they were the first wave of people who asked for their releases. Mike and Maria Kanellis' contracts were up at the end of June. Sometime in June.
Yeah, Maria denied it, just like she denied they were leaving Impact.
Yeah, and then they actually said themselves, our contracts are up in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's, from Maria Kanellis' Instagram account. But bar all of the very reputable news sources saying their contracts are up, they re-sign a 5-year deal in the last 2 weeks. And this is the reward for you staying with WWE and not going elsewhere. And these aren't cheap. These are like $500,000 contracts each over 5 years. And you spent that much money on them. and you bury them. And what sort of a message is that going to send to the rest of your roster who are thinking, should I go to AEW? Should I leave and try my chances elsewhere? Should I stay with WWE? You've just given them another reason not to trust you when they're saying, stick around, we're going to push you to the top of the brand, blah, blah, blah.
And there will be those who argue that this could be the start of a storyline where we're going to see a more serious Mike Kanellis, or maybe we'll actually get Mike Bennett. But this is not this is not a solid foundation to build a meaner heel character on.
No. Yeah, they've ruined him. This is like pretty much irreparable damage to him for a long, long time. And even if next week he does become this badass character, it's going to take months and months and months and months of very good booking to fix.
Yeah.
Very good booking that will likely be used on other people. That there is a finite resource of good booking in this company.
Maybe it'll lead to something on 205 Live.
That's what I think it will, yeah. Paul Heyman is doing a promo with Charlie Caruso next.
Teasing that Brock Lesnar might show up. He said that Seth's had a tough night. I was like, has he? I think he's
Even
all right,
Seth
mate.
doesn't think he's had a tough. Maybe on social media.
Oh.
And have a look at my Money in the Bank briefcase account.
Yeah.
It's not a very good joke. I thought it might work itself out as I said it.
Heyman was teasing that Brock might show up, and I was like, come on, mate. There's like 15 minutes left of this show. You can't tease this now.
But then the Street Profits show up instead, and they just continue to be charismatic.
Great. Yeah. Lovely stuff. And they basically said, we're going now. See ya. And that's it, and they left.
Yeah, and it was a nice way to give the Street Profits. This was an example of giving someone the rub, just by having them appear in a segment.
With Paul Heyman.
Yeah, it felt like it made them more legitimate.
But it's okay, because that means we can build to next week where they come out, and then Lesnar can just come down and wipe them both out with some F5s.
Yeah, that'll be good.
There you go. That's the way to do it. We found where Roman Reigns is. He's in GQ magazine. He's got a diet article in there.
Yeah. Dog food for the big dog.
It's a pedigree chum.
Yeah. Then we got a moment of bliss. Ooh, and like even though there was one good one going into Stomping Grounds with Bayley, it's not enough to stop that Pavlovian response in me.
Yeah,
I see the moment of bliss set, and I just want to cry.
Yeah. Alexa Bliss came out in her gear, and long story short, Carmella came out in her gear, and they had an impromptu match. So, good job you're in your gear then.
The guest was Nikki Cross, by the way.
Yeah.
For the moment of bliss segment. Carmella won in seconds with a roll-up.
Yeah.
Break. Then Nikki Cross won in a few minutes. So the idea is Alexa Bliss is riding off Nikki's coattails and they're going to do some friendship turn eventually.
Yeah.
We've seen it 100 times before. This isn't Nikki Cross's character. I've said it time and time again. This is the worst fundamentally booked story or told story in the company because it's letting story dictate character and not the other way around. So many sites are saying, well, it's actually a pretty good story.
Like who?
Cage Side Seats are into it. Dave Meltzer was saying today, well, it's a story. It always works. I know. I've seen the thing with Alexa Bliss 3 times now.
Yeah.
So, yes, I think it's god-awful.
And even if it is the case that Nikki is the one that's going to turn, and it's Nikki's going to reveal that she's been playing Alexa all along, what has she gained out of this?
Yeah.
Because all she's done is just earn someone else title shots. Which, in case, actually makes Nikki look like an idiot.
Yeah. Everyone looks like an idiot here.
Yeah.
Then we got Drake Maverick backstage, the good kind of idiot,
yes.
who's about to go on his honeymoon. His wife goes to the toilet or something, and R-Truth is being chased by the usual undercard trying to get his title, hides near Drake. Maverick sees him, hits him with the luggage, wins the belt.
He wins the belt.
Runs off for his honeymoon.
Grabs Jasmine and says, do you trust me? They go on a magic carpet ride. It was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed this show-long storyline of the 24/7 title with Drake.
Really good
He's
stuff.
becoming my favourite thing on Raw.
I'm excited to see what they do with the honeymoon.
Oh, yes.
I'm hoping we'll get some skits. But the main event was a rematch from last week, but this one is now for the title, the United States title. We've already kind of talked about what happened, but AJ Styles hits a phenomenal forearm. A couple of minutes in, pins Ricochet. Ricochet gets his leg under the ropes in the last, count. but the match is awarded to AJ. Oh, but there's then it goes to break, right?
Yeah, Mike runs down, the other referee, Mike Cohn, runs down, Father Ridiculous, and says, no. His foot was under the rope. We've got to restart the match. And they go to ad break, and then they restart the match. I really, really hate when they do this because they don't do it all the time. It's not a consistent thing.
Yeah.
There are times when there are screwy finishes, but nothing ever gets... Like the Samoa Joe arms up at Money in the Bank? Where he had the arms up against Ray?
I can't remember.
Like, where was the referee to run down and say, like, oh, that was bad officiating? Where was the bad officiating at WrestleMania when Becky won the belt, even though Ronda's shoulders were, like, I don't know, on the other side of the ring? If you're not going to be consistent with this, then you can't just do this on a whim. You can't be like, we need to do it this time because we need to get out of this no wrestling in an ad break nonsense.
Yeah, it raises too many questions for other times they do this because it's a booking crutch. But I've said my piece why I think it's, if you're going to do this is a smart way to do it because it builds AJ's heel turn. Because after a few more minutes, when we come back from commercial and the match is restarted, where the Ricochet and AJ have great in-ring chemistry.
Yeah.
I am excited to see the eventual proper match between them.
Proper pay-per-view match,
There was
lovely.
a brainbuster in there that looked pretty sick.
Yeah.
And the finish was Ricochet... Was it off it was off of something, but he flipped round AJ about several times and then rolled him up. It was a really good-looking pin.
Yeah, it was a pin out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Which is really good then to build up a pay-per-view match.
And Ricochet retains. AJ's looking at Gallows and Anderson, who are now out there at ringside, with a really good facial expression. And AJ's not very good at acting, like, facially, usually, especially in these promos, but I thought he nailed it here. And AJ stands up, shakes Ricochet's hand. Gallows and Anderson get in, and he's like, well, steady on, boys. And then he lamps Ricochet.
Yeah.
They beat him down.
And I love that because he turns around, he knocks Ricochet out, and then he turns back to Gallows and Anderson and just says, what are you waiting for? And then they start to beat him down as well. It was really, really cool. And then I'm hoping this is going to be their version of the triple powerbomb or the Nexus 450 from Justin Gabriel, which is AJ gets up onto the middle rope, Gallows and Anderson pass the opponent to him, and he gives them a middle rope Styles Clash.
Yeah.
Ricochet sold that so brilliantly. It was a really, really effective heel turn.
And there was a nice line from Corey Graves as well at the end, where he said, well, it looks like being in Japan over the weekend has made them remember what they had before. It was, and it's weird because I said, the title of last week's Raw WrestleRamble
Is AJ turning
heel. And I think we were both like, look, we're not saying it's going to happen, but the seeds are being planted.
Yeah.
And that's the next week it happened. Probably too early, I guess. But they need a main event heel. That's why this is so good. Because Raw has no main event heels. You've got Drew McIntyre, you've got Bobby Lashley, Baron Corbin. Brock Lesnar isn't around. It's who is there? But now you've got a legit, Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. All these people don't feel like main eventers, unfortunately. AJ Styles with Gallows and Anderson as his seconds.
Yeah.
That's a great heel act.
Really, really excited to see what they can do with this. And I think it was Sean Ross Sapp posted up on Twitter and said, like, do you know what? At this point, just turn Finn heel because he's doing nothing with the IC belt.
Yeah.
So you may as well turn him heel, stick him with this group, stick him with the club, and the four of them can be together. And then come January, bring up the Undisputed Era, and you've got faction warfare.
A lot of people were sort of doing fake scripts for what was going down in the writer's room on Paul Heyman's first day. And my favourite one was, the meeting starts, Paul Heyman walks in, we're doing the Bullet Club, you goddamn idiots! So it was that kind of cathartic level. Anyway, overall, I thought 4 out of 5 show. And that's not just a 4 out of 5 show by WWE standards. I think that would mostly be a 4 out of 5 show for like historically Raw standards.
I think that there were enough moments in the show to put this up to either a 4 out of 5 or a low 4 out of 5 for me. There was some bits in the show where I'm like, I'm not into this, and then you had the Mike and Maria stuff. But actually, the big moments, the stuff that you'll remember from the show, particularly that first hour and all the AJ stuff, are the stuff that's going to stay with me into next week. So thumbs up for that.
Well done. Let's get over to your super chat.
We shall. But quickly, someone suggested that it'll be the Street Experience by next week, which I've liked very much.
Very good.
Ryan B. Bad will start off as we rattle through these. Well, looks like 205 NXT can use the wild card now.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the worst idea.
They sort of have already.
Yeah.
Drew Gulak's been on NXT.
Will Adams, who's Luke Owen's #1 fan, says the show started and ended amazing. Everything in between was dragged down by the Omni Shane McCorbin.
That was only a very small part of the show.
Segments.
Yeah,
2 segments.
Aces Adventures, thank you for your donation.
Thank you very much.
Marco Juarez says, went to Raw last night. It was awesome. My first time ever.
Yeah, it's another live report that said it was
There
really
you
good.
go.
Cool.
Ryan B. Bad again says, best Raw in at least a year.
Oh, I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, certainly this year.
Yeah. Actually, it is. It's the best Raw of the year, I would say.
Oh, could be your title. Tomo says, just
Hey, man.
curious, guys, what was your favourite wrestling show that you attended? Love you guys. Hey, man.
Oh, it's probably got to be a Progress show, I'd say.
Hello, Wembley was great.
Hello, Emily. Yeah.
Super
Oh, I mean, the early days. Actually, screw that. Keith Lee, Tommy
I was going to
Hiroshi's
say,
one.
Epic. No, it wasn't Epic Encounters, was it? It was Global Wars.
And I think there was a
Global
show
Wars.
after that where it was Marty Scurll and Zack Sabre Jr. did their 45-minute PWG match.
Yeah.
That was good too.
Yeah.
Super Strong Show last year was great as well. Mr. Fretz says the Street Experience or Profit Experience. There we go. It's already
Nice.
started. Devon Mercer says starting the show with wrestling. What an idea!
Yeah.
And it worked.
Well, let's be honest. Wasn't really wrestling.
Start with a
was
big
it?
angle.
You ran around the crowd and then, it was 18 minutes of lying.
Zachary Marsh says, I know it kills Mike Kanellis, but I love that segment with Maria. Just so bonkers. Is she actually pregnant, though, or just storyline?
She's actually pregnant, isn't she?
I have no idea.
I don't have any idea. It was
I don't
soap
know, I don't do
opera-y.
Instagram, so I don't know.
It was the underlying thing of burying a guy who just re-signed with you.
Yeah.
That I didn't like.
Jobber JJ says, sports entertained, violence, swearing, pregnancy.
There you go. Paul
Hey,
Heyman
man.
in a nutshell.
Start Recording says, I wasn't expecting to see Street Profits in the main roster before Shayna Baszler.
I don't think anyone called them because they were the champions.
No, I know. I mean, I've been calling for a Profits call-up now for it feels like 2 years. But
Not now.
Not
Yeah.
now. You've just won the belts. You're finally getting a push there.
Yeah. Brian F says that was the best opening segment of the year.
Yep.
Yeah, quite
Definitely
clearly.
agree.
Spike Bite Gaming says you start a wrestling promotion and have the choice of WWE lower mid card as your top guy. Who do you pick from the?
Cesaro.
Yeah, would you call him lower mid-card?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in a match with No Way Jose this week.
Yeah.
If anything, he's an undercarder.
the main event Muscle Men. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah, they'd like team together or something on main event or whatnot.
With
like
who?
him and EC3.
EC3 and one more. But anyway, yeah, they called him
Bobby
something-
Roode.
Yes.
I have seen this story, yeah.
It was him. Anyway, so Cesaro, I guess. So Start Recording says, which 3 women in WWE and 3 men in WWE would you pick to spend 2 weeks with in the Big Brother house?
The Big Brother house.
Braun Strowman seems like a laugh.
Woods.
Drake
Ember
Drake
Moon.
Maverick. Ember Moon,
Woods
yeah.
and Moon I'm picking off the bat, yeah.
Becky does intimidate me.
She just voted me out first.
Yeah.
So I don't want to try and win this.
Nia Jax, my best friend.
Your best friend Nia Jax, obviously. Drake Maverick.
Kyrie
you said
Sane.
Drake, didn't you?
I said Drake, yeah.
Yeah.
Kyrie Sane seems like she'd be really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be fun to hang around with.
And Keith Lee.
of
course.
Frankie Ray says, Street Profits were a pleasant surprise.
They really were. Really, really were. I was genuinely shocked when they came up.
Adrian Welsh says, when do you think we'll see the Bray Wyatt debut?
Coming soon.
Yeah, who knows?
Emily.
Lurking.
Wasn't next week, isn't it, that he made his Raw debut? 8th of July or something. That's what people
You got
were
a
saying.
reminder on your watch.
I was just
there.
checking what the date was because I've got the date on my phone.
That's not your phone.
My watch is-
It's his Mayan calendar to Bray.
Oh man, I'm good at talking, me. No,
Matt-
yeah, people were saying like he debuted on a certain day on Raw, so like
A Monday.
a Monday, and it coincides. That's also next week as well. It's the same date, so maybe it's next week.
Malloy the Bear and message retracted. Thank you very much for your donations.
Thank you.
Ryan B. Bad says, should we expect NWO to SmackDown now since we already have Monday Night ECW?
We joked about it, didn't we?
We did joke because that's Bischoff's only idea he's ever had. So he may as well just do it again in the third promotion.
Hopefully with the Undisputed Era.
Adrian Garza says, how would you feel about Cedric Alexander joining the New Day? Also attended Raw. Dark match was Seth Rollins versus Corbin in a street fight. Lacey interfered. Becky run in.
I suppose the question you've got to ask yourself is, why are you putting Cedric in the team?
Yeah. I don't see the fit.
No.
Character-wise.
Adrian Wells, thank you very much for your donation. Barely Average Gaming says, no question, just want to say hi from your new $25 Pledge Hammer Pod Swafters for the win.
I saw you. Yeah, I saw
we'll be
you.
doing a shout-out for you at some point.
Yeah, when I was doing my reports this morning, I saw you in there.
Rated R King 22 says, hello everyone from the Bahamas. Ooh. Does the UK miss us? Lol. Quick question. Seeing as how they dropped no wrestling during the commercial breaks, do you think they should bring back the second screen experience?
Like with the shrink screen that they do on SmackDown, which they're still doing on SmackDown. The shrink screen's actually a good way round.
Better than what they're doing on Raw.
It's better than 2 out of 3 falls.
Yeah.
Or restart matches.
Suraj Gadvi says, do they really need Street Profits on the main roster? Why not use AOP, Heavy Machinery, Viking Raiders properly? Vince might give them comedy act treatment.
Well, you see us with your Vince. We're not Vince now, are we? We're Paul Heyman.
Yeah, yeah, that's what's exciting, isn't it? That Paul Heyman's obviously picked these guys. I didn't say it actually. They did. They gave me a Public Enemy vibe. Just the way they were walking around backstage, butting in on stuff.
Yeah. The ECW tag team, not the rappers from the 80s and 90s. Yes.
I was trying to think of a couple name for Vince and Paul. Adam Ulrich says, put the tag titles on Truth Maverick, where they keep pinning each other during defenses for the 27 title, but always manage to retain the tag titles, leading to a new mega power explosion at WrestleMania.
Yeah, but that would just make every other tag team look like absolute crap, because you can't even beat 2 lads that are beating themselves.
I like it.
Tom Lee, thank you for all your yen, and Viola, thank you very much for your dollars.
Thank you very much.
Sparks Entertainment says, in my opinion, WWE has kind of ruined Bray Wyatt already. By the time they're ready to debut him, I feel like people won't care, and the hype will be dead.
I think that's a bit harsh.
But I partly agree in that there was a momentum to him, and it was peak 2 weeks ago. So why didn't you debut him then?
You still got the puppets in the background.
It's not. That's a very tiny portion of people who are going to care or see that. So I think it's slowly being botched.
Yeah. Bryant Hoyt says, word is Morella, I think he means Maria, is really pregnant. So why did her and her husband sign a 5-year contract if she knew she would be out for 9 months beforehand? I mean, she's not on TV anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, also, then she's getting paid. You're getting paid to not be on TV.
That's true. RJ Calmeron says, did Heyman save the US title scene?
I think this is a continuation of the storyline that he was doing anyway. They were doing anyway, and I would argue. I mean, I would probably suggest that might not be one of the areas that Heyman's had his fingerprints on.
Yeah, if anything, that's a Triple H thing, especially the way he hugged Ricochet after the win at Stomping Grounds.
Sean Turner says, I could have gone to WWE Dallas with a Bayley Sting poster, but I'd rather go to SmackDown rather than Raw. I can't stand Becky and Seth. Separate them. On screen.
On screen.
Hopefully on screen, yeah.
Malloy the Bear 12 says, saw myself in Ollie's review of Fighter Fest, as well as my best friend and girlfriend in shots of Michael Nakazawa. I have a black and pink shirt and made my day. Support WrestleTalk. And then he says, first time donating may become a pledge hammer.
Oh,
sweet.
Great.
Nice.
I'm jealous you got to be there.
Yeah. It was a really fun show.
Raymond Jones says, the simplest way to make the shows feel different is having one of the cameras being the opposite way round, putting the hard cam on the other side.
Yeah, but then you'd expose when you've got terrible attendance. You like those SmackDown images last week.
You just move.
Move all the audience around. We're going to switch in shots, guys. Move around.
It wouldn't look that different. I don't think that's the big fix here. It would look exactly the same, but people would come out from the other side.
It would look exactly the same.
What you could do is just put it. I download a show, export it. You get into there and just give it a little mirror image in Premiere Pro.
Sean Turner says people talk about the dangerous chair shot at Fighter Fest, but people were perfectly fine with Orange Cassidy's devastating kicks at Double or Nothing.
I mean, they are harsh.
It's hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrible. Aaron Watson says, hello from Tampa, Florida, listening live at work on the job site where it's currently 90 degrees at 10 a.m. Love you guys and keep it up. And it's about 36 Celsius.
I think it's about 90 degrees in this room.
32, sorry. 32. Wilson Simon says, I was at Raw. Y'all mentioning the Raw crowd makes me feel special. Has been a rough few months. My dad died and my long-term girlfriend broke up with me on my birthday. The one thing that made me happy was you. Well, we're glad we could do that. We're very sorry about your dad and your girlfriend.
Yeah, that sucks, dude.
But yes, keep going.
You'll come out of this stronger.
You will. Charles Hall says, just joined the stream, but did you guys cover Graves screaming holy poo when Lashley and Strowman went down? Yes, we did.
No, we never mentioned it.
I didn't even see it. Brian Ordonez says, do you all think the WWE's great show in Dallas have anything to do with the G1 starting on Saturday? Also, I thought the live show experience was pretty good.
Oh, so another person who was there live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I don't think it's anything to do with the G1.
Oh, and by the way, we've had 5,000 people watching the stream, which is our most ever for a Raw review. So thank you very much to everyone.
Well done, Paul.
Sean Turner says, what are you talking about? It was Randy that killed Braun and Bobby in an invisible low ride. Watch today. He's going to brag about and ask for a title shot.
Yeah. Out of nowhere.
DJ Fobb says, do you think the injury angle Lashley versus Braun was a jab at AEW Cody's injury? No, Braun's apparently injured. So.
Oh, I did note that when it came back to Michael Cole, now WWE does everything it can to ensure the safety of its performers.
Take that, AEW.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
I don't think it was a shot at them, though.
Great name coming here. Big Butter Jesus Mobile Gaming says, any chance Joe has of taking the title off Kofi? What are the chances?
No, because I think you're going to build up Joe as a real dominant heel going into the match, and then Kofi again. Because the story they're saying is that I can't believe he still got the title, and
he'll lose it at SummerSlam.
Yeah, he'll lose it at some. Yeah, I think if he's going to lose, he's going to lose it at SummerSlam.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm almost starting to get on this train of thought now that Brock's going to cash in on him because Kofi keeps Corey's on this tear at the moment of just being like, I can't believe that Kofi keeps retaining, but this dream has got to end at some point soon. So what crueler way to do that is to have Brock steal from him.
6 weeks of Brock before Fox starts, I guess.
Yeah.
Dark Phoenix
not
86.
showing up on TV.
Thank you for your Mexican money. Michael Dominguez says, I'm going to SmackDown in San Antonio, baby. Which I guess is tonight.
Have fun.
AT&T Centre. Christian Baltimore and Shane Gensler, thank you very much for your donations.
Thank you
Sean
kindly.
Turner back in again, saying, will Vince ever be desperate and call up Vince Russo?
I said this. This is my bold prediction. Vince Russo's back in the company by the end of the year because Vince McMahon, that is on a Rolodex at the moment of the people that he used to work with. It's like, well, Pritchard didn't work. Heyman, will he work? No, he's not worked. Bischoff, no, he's not worked. Russo's next, I guess. We're just going through this Rolodex till we find he's going to dig up Stan Mushnick eventually and so get him to run the promotion.
Shane Gensler, thank you again for your donation. Ben Morris says, why do we think this restarting matches crap is good? Or not we, sorry, WWE. Bring back the boring rest holds. Love from Australia.
Yeah, it's not working.
There is a much better way of doing it, and this is not it.
Nathan Michael, thank you for your generous donation. KJ, that's it, KJ, sorry. It says, get Bischoff, Hogan, and Russo on the booking team. That'll make SmackDown great again.
Will it?
We're back!
Has everyone forgotten TNA? Has everyone forgotten TNA in 2010 when it was unwatchable?
Yeah.
Ruben George says nothing, but thank you very much for your double donation.
Thank
Paul
you.
Pierce says, I'm starting to think AEW versus WWE is a work. Come on, Paul.
It's Vince Russo's writing for Paul.
Yeah, Vince Russo watches WrestleTalk Confirmed.
Hangman AJ Wilson says Ricochet and the Profits versus the Club at Extreme Rules.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, a little
I quite liked
six-man.
when he said that.
Yeah, be nice.
KJ says, how do you know WWE had a pay-per-view called Fatal... No, sorry, you know how they had a Fatal 4-Way. They could do a pay-per-view called 2 out of 3 Falls.
But then we get that anyway.
Pay-per-view is singles match.
That's true. Bryant Hoyt says, if ad breaks are an issue... If ad breaks are an issue, why not use time limits like NWA TV title Arn Anderson 80s era style?
Yes,
Wouldn't that solve the
that's
issue?
great.
There it is.
10-minute time
limits. That solves the problem.
Or just do like a longer time limit, but they don't have to go that long. Will Hate says, give me your best Shane Douglas chuckle. I don't know what that is.
Oh, that's from WrestleRamble. Was that the Destination X 2011 review?
Yeah, because he was backstage interviewer.
Oh no, maybe it wasn't that one.
Maybe
it was a different
earlier.
TNA one. It was a backstage interview. He was just there going
Tim Arndt says, booking idea, the lights are out in Drake's bedroom and we hear 1, 2, 3, lights come on and Drake's wife and the ref sprint out of the room.
Nice.
Thanks for the idea, Tushki, because I think someone else suggested it.
I was going to say, I can see them being more like you have Drake in bed and he's just like, time to consummate this marriage, and then turn the lights off, and then he turns it back on and Truth's in bed instead.
That's what I was exactly about to say.
Truth pins him for the belt.
Ivan Drago says, does WWE have the upper hand on AEW following Cody's botched chair shot and the last night's Raw being as good as it was?
Look, Raw was very good.
But
it
wasn't as good as Fyter Fest.
Yeah. Even with botched spots, the Fyter Fest was another level.
Yeah.
Flint Mech says, Becky and Seth relationship being used on as an on-TV story sucks. They're not a prior established couple like Ms. Maurice, Jimmy, Naomi. Anyway, they're supposed to be badass baby faces. No chemistry. It really hurts Becky's character.
I feel like that's been the mission of 2019 is let's hurt Becky's character.
Yeah. Kate Sun, C8 Sun, says, love the channel, fellas. Hey, man, this Raw was a lot better than it has been. Sure.
What was that, sorry?
It just Raw's been better than it has
Raw's
been.
been,
It certainly was.
James de Jesus says, here's $2, go nuts.
Oh, thanks, mate. Hey! I'm going to buy a Snickers.
Double Decker. Jim Arndt says, these Street Profits appeared on a main roster show. I am scared.
No, I didn't have that sense of dread this time. Like you said earlier, I didn't have the...
Let's see.
Yeah. Give it time.
Optimistic again.
Ronce Rahan says, triple donation, but one message says, have you heard Raw's new tagline? The 1 week a night Raw and SmackDown go head-to-head in direct competition.
Give it time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's been for a while now.
Sean Turner says, Brock should appear, not cash in, but laugh at Seth for his small bank account, yet working less than he does. Also, the small thing in Seth's panties. Ooh.
Yeah, he's got a big bank account.
Mr. Goatee says, I think they're going to make Mike the modern day Meat, but less sucky, fighting for his abusive wife's approval, keeping the theme for juxtaposition.
And what a star Meat turned into. So, it's got precedent for working.
Anton H says, Finn joined the club is my Hogan heel moment.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's not quite a Hogan heel moment, but
yeah.
But still, that's what I want to happen.
Elizabeth Mazzora says, everything you summarised makes me cringe hard, especially the Kanellis eye part. Also, I definitely agree that Alexa Nikki is a terrible angle. How can anyone like that? When you were saying that, I remember Greg last week, we were...
Yes. Oh, God, yeah, Greg liked it as well. One of the writers on the site. Yeah.
He was really behind it.
Really behind it?
Behind
genuinely.
Every single storyline. He loves it. Anyway, Hartley Reaper says, I prefer Evil Ways AJ, but Bullet Club is cool too.
Yeah.
Luke is finally turning a corner with a 24/7 belt, says Jobber JJ.
It's had 1 week, mate.
I thought you liked it. You've liked it.
I've liked bits and bobs.
You've enjoyed it.
I still argue that it's a meaningless title.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that's what Jobber JJ is referring to. But it is a meaningless title, but it has had some fun comedy stuff.
Yeah. Shaquille Mel says, first super chat for me. Love the content. Didn't WWE at one point do this thing where the network was the second screen during commercials?
They did it on the app, I think. Pretty sure they did that. Like you'd have the app open at the same time, so you could then watch the commercial breaks during the app.
Hartley Reaper says, ECW return about time.
No, we thought that in 2006, and look what happened there.
It returned on Saturday night at Fyter Fest.
Jordan Price says, big fan, guys, keep up the good work. Do you think the brand split should end? Yeah.
I mean, it already has.
It has. Ethan Robertson, thank you very much for your donation.
Thank you.
Jonathan Barube says, would have been so nice to have them sell the LED boards being out after the explosions like they did for the Viking experience.
LCD boards.
Well, we said that as well earlier, that we wish the whole set stayed dark.
That's it,
for the entire episode.
Yeah, because as it stands, it's just like a tiny door was missing.
Abraham.
Also, it's now at the point where I've actually forgotten what they're supposed to be because we've been joking so much about this LCD
LEDs.
thing, and I don't know
I'm
what
pretty
it
sure
is
it's
anymore.
LED.
No idea.
Abraham Penner says Heyman versus Bischoff. See who can increase the ratings more.
Bischoff's got a bigger uphill struggle because he's got to like
Get to 3 million.
he's got to rub off the stink that SmackDown is the B show.
C11 says
And for being Bischoff.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they put him on there because it's B for B
Yeah.
show, B for Bischoff. Yeah, he has got an uphill
C11
struggle.
says been watching since 2017, but have mainly become a pod swafter over the last year. First super chat ever, just to say I love you guys so much. Thank you for everything.
Thank you
man.
very
Thank
much.
I
C11.
really enjoy the exclusive intros and outros for the podcast. My favourite part of this job.
Really?
Yeah, I love the intros and outros.
We have 7 more. D says, in my opinion, Kofi is more over as champion than Seth Rollins. That is why WWE is promoting his relationship with Becky. Brock cashes in on Rollins. Makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, the Rollins-Lesnar feud seems to be a more natural fit. But yeah.
Yeah.
Mike Dempsey says, eat me. Hey, it's Thanksgiving Day. I also don't know. But that's what he said. So thank you, Mike.
Thanksgiving.
Michael Dominguez says, NXT call-ups won't stop, but which one do you want to see?
Another NXT call-up. I think you could bring in Matt Riddle as part of a Paul Heyman era.
If Riddle's going on to any show, it bloody better be a Heyman show. I do
Yeah.
not want him on a Bischoff show.
It could be really good.
Yeah.
Tomo says, I just realised that Datsun and I have the same shirt. Well, we both have my mum's got good fashion sense, apparently.
She buys Tomo's shirts as well.
Yeah, she does. We've become very close. Christopher Delander says, the Outlaw Ace here, the club reunion is a good thing.
It is.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
very much
Should always have been a thing.
Yeah.
And then it'll be disbanded in the autumn when they leave. Mike Dempsey says, if you could change one thing to make this the best of both worlds, what would it be?
Separate rosters.
No, they should play that song at the beginning of every show.
Oh, yeah, I miss that song. They play it occasionally.
Do you know what? When I was in Peru, they actually were still playing those commercials.
On WWE programming?
When I was in bars and stuff, and they would have like sports shows on, they would have like the best of both worlds advert still playing.
What a treat.
I know. Every time I get it, I would just catch my eye and I'd be like, "It's AJ in a booth.
This is going to be...
This is gonna be
Phenomenal.
That's it. It's gonna be phenomenal."
4 more. Jobber JJ says 24/7 Championship is the best title on the main roster. That's just unique for him because he's a job.
It's fun. It's fun.
It's meaningless.
Caleb Maldonado says WrestleTalk is the best. WrestleTalk #1.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
God, remember when that was over as a thing?
Ben Morris says first time I heard my name on a live chat. Pledgehammer, here I come.
Nice,
Yes.
mate. Good work.
And lastly, Marcus Roman says, I would like to see a segment Street Profits and the New Day together.
Yeah, that would be really fun.
Yeah.
Both very good promos. Seem naturally
Charisma.
witty.
But I would like to see it on the YouTube channel where the writers aren't involved.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for all watching. Let's say thank you more specifically to our $25 above Patreons.
yes.
Pledgehammers. So thank you, Paulie Dangerously German.
Whoa,
Here's your
that's
cheap
nice.
pop.
Oh, actually, do you want to do the next one?
Oh, and after that, we've got the barman, the bartender, as some people call him, the bartender, Ben Barman.
Well, interesting.
Bartender Ben Barman.
You've actually spelled it wrong here anyway.
Yes, I have. The $100 man, CD Horver.
Woo!
Yeah, nice.
Ooh, el siguiente top model de Gran Bretaña. Phil Stopford.
Lovely
Come on,
stuff, Phil.
The Kessel Run, DX Solo.
Nice. Yeah,
Ah,
classics.
good
The
one.
mayor of Painesville, Dan.
Way, we love Dan. The event known as Chris Anderson to decide the best in the world.
Nice.
World. Ben, hey now, you're a rock star. Haley.
Yay! He's no jackass, Dano.
Ah, the beast, Brock Taylor.
Oh, that was a sneaky roll in our Supernova Steve Harris.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And lastly, for this show, WrestleTalk's personal ring announcer, Rodrigo Benitez. Yeah.
Thank you very much for tuning in today. Please click the videos that have just appeared on the desk to catch up with the latest awesome WrestleTalk videos, and this button right here, which will make you a pledge hammer on Patreon, and you can get your own shout outs on this show amongst many other excellent rewards. I've been Ollie Davis. This has been Luke Owen. Over there was Randy Andy Dat Watson. And that was Rambling. Hey, Paul.